Hello, I'm Dean Hoger, and I'm the Executive Director of Clean Water Action Council of Northeast Wisconsin. Our mission statement is to protect human health and the environment, and we do that through education, taking actions such as lawsuits and legal actions, and we also work with charitable and environmental justice issues. There are presentations that are available from Clean Water Action Council that you may be interested. We'd be happy to present to your group in person or via an online format such as Zoom. Today we're going to be talking about protecting human health and aquatic life from toxic PAH or polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon pollution in pavement sealants. And we're going to be hearing from some experts on their particular field. And the first expert will be Joel Kitchens. And this is a state representative who has worked on this, trying to getting a ban at the state level. Let's hear from Joel.
Hi, this is State Representative Joel Kitchens. Coal tar pavement sealants are a proven carcinogen, and they're really unnecessary because there are so many safe alternatives that work just as well. Many communities along the lakeshore have already banned them. I served on the bipartisan Speaker's Task Force on Clean Water a few years ago, and one of the recommendations that came out of that task force is that we do a statewide ban. Unfortunately, there are people in the areas that have not banned them yet that believe that if we do that, it'll put them out of business. But if you look at what's happened in eastern Wisconsin, that is simply not true. I do believe that eventually we will have a state and even a national ban on coal tar sealants. But in the meantime, I think it's important for our local communities to ban them because I think that will speed the process along. And I think we need to be protecting our kids while we wait for that ban. Thanks.
So an introduction of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons might be a good thing to do at this time. We know that many of them are toxic, that some cause cancer and some cause mutations to aquatic life and also to humans, especially with causing cancer and other birth defects and developmental problems. There are 16 PAHs that are on the US EPA's priority pollutant list due to their toxic effects. And we know that pH contamination has been increasing. And the sad thing is that contamination, maybe it's a good thing, contamination is costly to remediate, but it's also easy to prevent. And we'll be talking about preventing it in this slideshow. So sources of PAH, we have some fairly low levels. For instance, we have fresh asphalt is 1.5 milligrams per kilogram, kind of like parts per million is what it equals, pretty close to parts per million. The highest one there is used motor oil, but if we look at coal tar pavement sealants, we're looking at 70,000 parts per million. If we look at a comparable to the asphalt-based sealant, we're looking at 50 parts per million or milligrams per kilogram if we look at it in those units. So obviously coal tar sealants are the biggest threat. There are other kinds of sealants that are coming on the market that are also high in PAH, and so it's not strictly coal tar, but there are others that may be being developed, and it's our understanding that some of these are being developed from waste products from plastic manufacturing. And in fact, coal tar sealant is a waste product itself, and it's a waste product from the manufacture of coke that's used in the steel industry. So again, coal tar-based sealants, 50,000 to 100,000 milligrams per kilogram. Asphalt is very much lower, and acrylic or latex sealant is pH free. So how do these sealants pollute? How do these high pH sealants pollute? Well, they're worn off by tires and snow plows and general weathering. And you can see from the picture that after a time, many parking lots begin to look like that, where there's the most traffic, where snow plows are scraping more soil, or not soil, but snow, and where the wear is. And then we see that particles can be washed into storm drains and end up in waterways, or they can be tracked or blown into buildings. And because of that, they're reapplied every few years to ensure constant source of pHs. So it's really to get that back to black to new look. We also end up then with a constant source of a highly toxic polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon layer on that pavement. So there was a various number of studies that were conducted. We partnered with Clean Wisconsin on some of our presentations, and they did a lot of the legwork on this. And they found that in a United States Geological Survey study in Milwaukee, that 78% of the samples exceeded probable effects thresholds. These were from areas where they were taking samples from streams. And that 77% of the pHs that were found came from coal tar-based pavement sealants. So we also found, the Clean Wisconsin also found that pH concentrations exceeded the threshold effects concentration in 2 of 3 cities that were tested. Other studies were done. Minnesota conducted a lot of studies, and they are actually in the process of suing companies that created the coal tar-based sealants and sold them, and sealing companies also, because it's been very expensive to remediate stormwater retention ponds as well as streams. Milwaukee County spent a lot of money removing pH from some of the streams. Next, we're going to hear from Dr. Beth Neary on the health effects of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons.
Hi, my name is Dr. Beth Neary. I'm a pediatrician and the co-president of the Wisconsin Environmental Health Network, a group of health professionals dedicated to addressing environmental health issues that directly affect human health. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the health effects of coal tar sealant, with a particular emphasis on children. Coal tar-based pavement seal coat products have extremely high levels of a compound called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, otherwise known as PAHs. PAHs are a known human carcinogen. And exposure to these products actually increases risk of skin, lung, bladder, kidney, and digestive tract cancers. Over time, seal coat containing coal tar actually breaks down into particles. They travel by air, wind, rain, friction from car tires, and feet. These cancer-causing particles actually enter the household via the windows, the doors, or even on our own feet and the pet's paws. They settle on furniture, carpeting, and become part of household dust. Toddlers crawling on the floor put their fingers in their mouth and are ingesting this. In fact, the average toddler probably puts their finger in their mouth about 35 times an hour. Older children are also exposed in their home to the surfaces, but also by playing directly on these parking lot surfaces, riding their bikes, skating, coloring with chalk. It gets on their fingers too and gets into their mouth. On hot summer days, PAHs heat up and are released into the air. Children actually inhale them, and they're also known to trigger asthma attacks. A study of household dust of ground floor apartments with parking lots sealed with coal tar products had a level of PAH 25 times higher than those that were sealed with other products. The U.S. Geological Survey actually partnered with a human health risk analyst to estimate the excess lifetime cancer risk associated with ingestion of household dust and soil for people living adjacent to parking lots that were sealed with coal tar-based products. And what they found was the risk of cancer was 38 times higher for those living near parking lots with coal tar-based seal coat. Much of this excess risk from exposure to the PAHs in the seal coat came in early childhood, from ages 0 to 6. That means a child exposed in that time period are at risk of getting cancer later in life. In summary, this proven carcinogen has detrimental effects on health, but particularly worse for children because of their smaller size, their higher respiratory rate, their fact that their organs are in a rapid state of growth and development. In light of the fact that there are alternatives that are safer, to ban the sale of these human carcinogens is a prudent and reasonable approach to protect human health, especially the health of our most vulnerable, our children. Thank you for listening.
All right, as Dr. Neary was saying, children living next to coal tar sealed parking lots are exposed much more so than other children, and they can create a lifetime exposure risk that is 38 times higher than children not living next to a lot like that. So for instance, in housing complexes where there's large parking areas, this could be a high risk area for children who are growing up there and spending years in those situations. Also, schools with playgrounds. Playgrounds are covered with a pavement sealant. And in one case, I heard a pavement sealing company representative say that he's put it on lots of school parking lots and never had a complaint. And he was standing up for the coal tar based seal products. So as you see there, the American Medical Association has resolved that there should not be coal tar pavement sealants used or other high polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon sealants, and that they should advocate for legislation to ban those products. So as we can see, that schools are one of the places where this can occur. Children playing on the playgrounds, they can track with their feet, they can track the product into their homes, into schools, into daycare centers, into churches, and continually to be exposed. We also should note that as Beth was saying, it can be moved by the wind. And one thing that we don't have a slide for that we really should is that it could be blown by the wind onto vegetable gardens. And if the vegetable isn't thoroughly washed, if it's a kind of vegetable that it's difficult to wash, such as raspberries, the particles may stay on the berries or other fruits and vegetables. So public health has come out strongly against these high pH products. As you can see, there's a long list there. We also know that pHs are a problem for the environment, and they can kill invertebrates and fish and amphibians. They can cause developmental and reproductive problems in fish and amphibians, and they can cause cancer, tumors, and lesions in fish. So especially those organisms, aquatic organisms that are bottom feeders or are feeding on organisms that are feeding on the bottom nutrients. So next we're going to hear from Paul Matheson, our partner at Clean Wisconsin, and he's going to tell us about pHs and the environment.
My name is Paul Matheson. I'm the Science Program Director at Clean Wisconsin. PAHs are a class of toxic compounds, 16 of which are on EPA's priority pollutant list due to the threat that they pose to environmental health. Research shows that water contaminated by high pH sealants kills or harms a wide variety of aquatic life and impairs the overall health of the water body. PAH exposure can directly kill organisms, impair reproduction, impact growth and development, or cause organ defects and tumors. Sediment-dwelling insects are most impacted since pHs accumulate in the sediment, and this has cascading ecological impacts since these insects are an important part of the aquatic food web. Impacts have also been reported in frogs, salamanders, and fish. Studies in multiple Wisconsin watersheds have found pH levels in the sediment exceeding toxic thresholds that can harm aquatic life, and that the high pH sealants are the primary source of this contamination. Millions of dollars have been spent around the state cleaning up pH-contaminated sediment, including the Milwaukee and the Kinnickinnick rivers in Milwaukee County. Continued use of high pH sealants will likely result in continued contamination of our water bodies and continued impaired aquatic systems.
So as Paul was mentioning, it can accumulate in streams and also in stormwater ponds, and that then causes a higher maintenance cost. It can cost a lot more money to remove the sediment if it's contaminated with pHs. So there's not just a health and environmental factor here, but there's also an economic factor. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, Minneapolis area municipalities are suing coal tar manufacturers to cover the costs of disposing pH and contaminated sediments, and it's running into the millions of dollars. So there's an example of a stormwater pond and how the pH ends up in the bottom of the pond. So as Dr. Beth Neary mentioned, it's sad because there are alternatives, and the alternatives are not really that much less or more expensive than in the past. So as you can see, if you're buying 5-gallon buckets, well, the asphalt-based sealant is now actually lower in cost. But if you're buying the really larger quantities like coal tar pavement sealing companies do, then the coal tar base, which is in the red, ends up being a little bit cheaper. So, and again, latex and acrylic is the more expensive product. So, why is it that coal tar pavement companies stood up for these products at the last hearing in the state assembly? It was before a transportation committee, a Senate transportation committee. There were almost a half dozen seal coat companies being represented there by their owners or workers, saying that they would go out of business if coal tar pavement sealing was banned. And that was really a false statement, because at the same time, Minnesota has banned the product for almost 10 years, and the Minneapolis, St. Paul areas, Twin Cities, has probably 25 or 30 seal coat companies, and they're not using coal tar based pavement sealants. So it's ridiculous to think that we have to continue to use this product. So how do we go about making a change? Well, Clean Water Action Council and Clean Wisconsin has been working on public education for at least 5 years now. The marketplace controls a little bit out of our hands there. Voluntary action, by doing the education, we hope that we can help people make decisions about what they're going to allow to be applied. Usually people are not going to buy this product at the local hardware store or big box store. It's companies that come in and do the seal coating in large areas or even driveways, and do that for property owners. So we can also try and get government property restrictions. I know in Kewaunee County, Wisconsin, there's a a restriction at the county level of all county properties, but it doesn't rule out using the product on personal property, on private property. So we should then look at public restricted use and an outright ban. So we worked with a number of cities. Clean Water Action Council's worked with Green Bay and Sturgeon Bay. Both have passed a ban. We worked with Luxembourg, the village of Luxembourg. They have passed a ban. And through our education efforts in Door County, we believe that those efforts helped the town of Gibraltar to pass a ban there. So outright bans are really important. And Clean Wisconsin, using a Wisconsin Coastal Management Grant, worked along the lakeshore and got bans passed in Algoma, in Two Rivers, in Kewanee, not Kewanee, but Two Rivers and Manitowoc, and Sheboygan and other lakeshore cities. But again, these are just cities. The counties have not passed bans. So it's important that we look at other cities in those counties, just like Clean Water Action Council is working to get bans passed all through Door County at the municipal level. So again, communities restricting use. The outright ban is really what we're looking for. And it's very important that any ban include the term and other high PAH sealants. There are other products besides coal tar that are coming out that are high in PAH. So there's a list of some of the recent bans. Of course, since then, I mentioned several more, Luxembourg, for instance, and Gibraltar. So it's important that we remember that when we do these bans, we do have to include that terminology. And this is a pull-out from one of the ordinances where it shows that greater than 0.1% polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons is considered high PAH. So if you're shopping for a product, you want to check the data sheet, and if you're using a service, have the product specified on the contract, and make sure that you're getting a product that's low in pH. Best bet is to use asphalt sealant. That would be the best bet. So we have some area companies. This one up here, Back to Black. We believe that they are using coal tar pavement sealants. They would not tell me when I called them to ask for a quote on a driveway what the product was. They would not tell me what the product was. And these are other online researches and show the percentage of pH in the product. And hopefully we have a slide here from coming up here. We have a few more coal tar pavement sealing products. These are some things to watch for. So this one can be bought in a 5-gallon pail, and it is also a coal tar sealer, and it can be bought in bulk pallets. So next we're going to hear from So now we're going to hear from Pat from Jay's Asphalt Seal Coat Company.
Hello, my name is Pat DeJardin with Jay's Asphalt and DeJardin Asphalt Maintenance. I have been a contractor in the business for 15 years now, and going into our 15th season, we are using asphalt emulsion products, EnviroCoat, instead of the coal tar that most people are still trying to use. Contractors nowadays are finding out that the substitute to coal tar is superior and now, as of this year, more cost effective than coal tar asphalt sealants. We don't have to worry about any kind of sealer burn from the product. We don't have to worry about any kind of hazards to our waterways, our rivers, our lakes, and breaking down into the drains or affecting any of our elderly or children that the science has proven to affect. So I am saying that as a contractor, my business will not be affected by any kind of coal tar ban. In fact, it will probably help me, as a lot of the out-of-towners that you see coming from out of your areas, like we had a guy a couple years ago from Texas using sealers, coal tar sealants in our areas, knocking on doors and putting it down with any regards to our communities, and it's taking money out of our communities because, well, you'd be going back to Texas with it all. So I encourage the coal tar ban, a countywide, statewide, whatever we can get. At this point in time, it will only help the local contractors by keeping the riffraff out. Hello, my name is Pat DeJarden with Jay's Asphalt.
So as we heard Pat say, there are people coming from out of the Door County area and other places, even out of state, using coal tar. And we have Pat talking about that because in 2022, there were so many people testifying that they would go out of business if coal tar pavement sealants were banned in the state. So there's a gentleman there who says otherwise. He uses other products and says that many other seal coat companies in the area have also switched. So in summary, PHs, or polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, are determined to be environmental and health problems, threats. So the studies find coal tar sealants are the primary source of PHs in areas where they were used. And arguments for policy action can be made on multiple grounds: human health, environmental health, and now economics, because cleaning up from coal tar pavement sealants can be very expensive. So coal tar sealants are a controllable source of PHs, and reasonable alternatives are available. So I'd like to note that Clean Wisconsin has helped with some of the slides, and it was great partnering with them. And they received a Wisconsin Coastal Management Program grant to help do that work. And we received a grant from the 100 Plus Women Who Care of Door County to help us work in Door County. So thanks for attending. If you have any questions or you'd like us to do this presentation in person, we would be happy to present to your group, or especially to your local government, and we can narrow this down to about a 10-minute presentation and provide them with some excellent literature and examples of ordinances banning this product. So feel free to reach out to us, and we're easy to reach at contact@cleanwateractioncouncil.org.